2 thumbs up. Dog. Black swan. Goosey goosey gander. Cockatoo. Cockatoo. A relic from Waterloo. Dapple gray. A moose. Two flying birds. Bull's head. Excuse me, Mr. Punch. A bull's head. The goose a prisoner. Freight. Two baby birds. Head of a camel. Two baby birds. Sage. Sage. Kangaroo. Clown. Mother Hubbard's dog. An elephant. Grandpa. A sly weasel. Boy. Old Mother Hubbard. A panther. A crowing cock. A woodpecker. The court jester. Turkey in the hay. Polly wants a cracker. Oops. Old King Cole. A snake. Two baby birds. A snail. Tortoise. An alligator. A bunny. A billy goat. David, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Michael, Manhattan, New York, 1992. Martin, Manhattan, New York, 1992. William with friends, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Alberto, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Joe, Manhattan, New York, 1992. Danielle and David, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Tamale, 1893. Randy and Tom, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Andrew, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Andrew, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Carlos, Queens, New York, 1992. Carlos, Queens, New York, 1992. Francis and Angelina, Manhattan, New York, 1992. Wayne, Staten Island, New York, 1992. Alan, Manhattan, New York, 1992. Gregory, Manhattan, New York, 1991. Alistair, Queens, New York, 1992. Alan, Manhattan, New York, 1992. Joe, Manhattan, New York, 1992.
Called War Zone cast a national spotlight on street harassment. But we wanted to see the extent of the problem here in the Valley. For the past 2 weeks, we've been on the lookout for street abuse in the Phoenix area. In tonight's Inside Story, you see what we found. Waiting at a bus stop, walking to school, or exercising on a busy street, it's not unusual for a woman to be the target of unsolicited commentary on the way she looks. It can be as simple as a honk from a passing car. These two ASU students get 10 to 15 a day as they take their walks. They don't consider it a compliment.
They probably do it to any girl who's out there walking.
Rana Weaver puts up with not only car horns, but offensive comments yelled out vehicle windows as she walks to Glendale Community College. She is not flattered.
He's never going to see me again, and I don't find it as a compliment. I find it as almost an insult, where he's making like I'm a piece of meat.
For a woman, the streets are a war zone. Every day is a battle to stay safe.
Maggie Hadley West got so tired of the street abuse in New York City that she made a film about it entitled War Zone. She walked through her neighborhood with a camera. Another photographer followed her. Whenever a man verbally harassed her, she pointed the lens his way.
Using the camera gave me an unexpected unexpected tool for revenge. I pursued just as I felt pursued.
In 7.5 hours, she filmed 112 men verbally harassing her, making comments like, "Let me see what you got up there." The film has drawn national attention. It's been written about in USA Today and Glamour magazine.
The thesis of the film is that women in this country live with the threat of rape, and that when a woman is walking down the street and a man is sexually aggressive towards her, she has no idea what's motivating him to be that way.
So a woman has no way of knowing whether to be afraid of a street harasser. True, Phoenix isn't New York City. Dr. Robert Triana is from there and now practices here.
People are slower, they're more circumspect, they're certainly much more polite.
Still, that doesn't mean a woman can walk down the street here without being bothered. We wired a woman with a microphone and videotaped her from the car as she walked in Mesa and Tempe, miles from ASU. In one morning of taping, 2 different men stopped to offer her a ride. After she refused, the man in this vehicle asked for directions to a restaurant. She tried to brush him off politely.
Sorry, I wish I could help you. What's your name? Any man in their right mind knows that a woman with brains is not going to hop into a car that they don't even know who the person is.
But is this harassment?
What if it were a man walking down the street? Would anybody offer him a ride?
It can be frightening for a woman to suddenly confront a stranger in a car. Ronna Weaver doesn't think some men realize that their actions scare or annoy women. It startles her when men honk as she's walking down the street.
And what's so annoying about that is if you're walking and someone honks, you have a certain reaction just like someone does as their driver, because obviously you think someone may be out to hit you or there's going to be an accident.
This woman has put up with plenty of car horns and obscenities yelled out of windows as she's waited for the bus in downtown Phoenix.
It's demeaning. It kind of devalues you, like they see you as an object. You're not just a person waiting for a bus, you're someone that wants to be picked up on.
Dr. Triana says many of the men who harass women do it to show off for their friends. He also believes that most of those guys don't stop and think of how they're making the women feel. Others may think they're being nice by offering a woman a ride, for example. The reason Maggie Hadley West made her film was to raise the awareness of street abuse and to let men know that many women are offended by it. If you'd like to see the film War Zone, they will show it to you for free by appointment at the deCompression Gallery in Phoenix.
Do you think that's what it is? A lot of men, they'll go by, they'll honk. They're not thinking about the woman at all. They're just thinking, well, maybe even to them, they think it's a compliment.
Yeah, they may think that women take it as a compliment. All of the women we talk to don't take it as a compliment.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening if a stranger stops with a car for anyone, woman or man.
That's right.
Thank you.
This film is about moments, the small moments in my life and in the lives of all women that leave us with large scars, scars of fear, rage, and misunderstanding, scars that are crying to be healed through empathy and dialogue. What I want is the power, the same power that's taken from me every time I step out of my house, the power over my own body, over my voice. In the beginning, I liked the attention. I believed it was a reflection of my desirability, of my womanly charm. Slowly, I realized it had nothing to do with me as a woman or as an individual.
She wants him.
Am I the castrating female? By filming these men, I expected that I would trigger recognition of their degrading and debilitating behavior.
Things like this never happened before.
This is an act of retaliation, an attempt to retrieve part of my loss. I am 33 years old. Street abuse has been occurring in my life for over 18 years. I did not provoke these men. Only if a man was sexually aggressive towards me would I film him. This is about the moments following that initial act of aggression. Do my friends and lovers condone this behavior? Do they speak out against it to those men that participate? Do I? From the first day, I realized I was street conditioned. My head was down, I looked at buildings, anything to avoid eye contact with men. I began by changing my street behavior. I looked ahead and around myself. I made an effort to see everything, to take back my sight. Under other circumstances, only unsolicited commentary penetrates my shell. Often the commentary is judgments on a woman's perceived physical attributes. The size of my legs, breasts, and ass are often targets for these assessments. Do women pretend it's meaningless? A hierarchy of abuse developed. I rationalized the behavior of men based on their verbal language, not on their body language. If their words weren't overtly calculated to hurt, I excused them. I forgave their gestures, their posture, and their physical proximity. I ignored the implied threat. If he spoke no words, then how could he hurt me? Together, the words and the posture serve to reinforce the physical and intellectual dominance that these men seem to feel they deserve. A silent conversation begins in my head. The words that are safer left in my mind. The words I scream and protest. Should I carry mace? A knife? Unexpected tool for revenge. I pursued just as I felt pursued. I became empowered. Some of these men hid their faces. Were they afraid of me or the 6 o'clock news? Are men powerless to control their physical and fantastical desires? This phenomena is often attributed to my behavior. Do they recognize that I'm sexually repressed or that I'm a nymphomaniac? Why do men bark like dogs at women on the streets? Are we bitches? Do we look like dogs? Or is it just a funny thing to do? I don't know these men. I'm in no position to make stupid assumptions. I think of my shoes as weapons. Can I kick in them? Can I run in them? There's the underlying implication of physical and sexual violence. becomes a real probability. Is this what we want for our sisters, lovers, for our daughters? Is this how we want our sons to treat women?
There are reasons that these things happen to you.
If I respond to a man speaking to me on the streets, it's often interpreted as being an invitation to a sexual encounter. I try not to respond. I've been told that not responding is an indication of my hostility towards men. If I respond angrily, I often trigger an enormous rage. Is it personal, or is it the anger of men towards women because there is no longer certainty in the roles we both live? Is it something else? I am skeptical of some men's ability to understand how this phenomena twists my psyche, how I harbor small suspicions of all men, how I feel so unprotected by the men I love, how that feeling contradicts the traditional role of men in this country. I want to be protected.
Look at the way she's dressed.
I do not believe that all men participate in this kind of behavior, but I do believe that we are all complicit.
I can't believe she's not wearing a bra.
People do not want to hear about acts of aggression against women. Once again, women are seducing innocent men. In burglaries, victims are never questioned about having their possessions out for the taking. Should I hide my body with my clothing? I expected I would feel liberated from my fear. Instead, the anger rose to the surface. The security of my camera was only a facade. Every woman I know has stories that are part of the fabric of her anger. I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska, in the country. As a little girl, I was always being warned about men. In a small town in Louisiana, a man stopped me on my bike and asked for directions by pointing a gun. A female relative suggested it was because I wasn't wearing a bra. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, a man chased me up a flight of stairs to my apartment. He was frightened away by my roommate. Every day I face the fear of being hurt, like so many of my friends. This phenomena is not confined to urban areas or specific countries. These are the men in my neighborhood and the areas I frequent in New York City. They are primarily white, African American, and Latino. In other cities I've lived in, the ethnic backgrounds and the balance is different. I do not believe this phenomena is confined to any particular class or race of people. In this film, 28 men were white, 35 African American, and 25 Latino.
She's a racist bitch.
Street abuse is about the inequity between men and women in virtually every culture in the world. Despite our belief in our own sophistication, women are still viewed as property. While walking, I have had my breasts and vagina squeezed, my butt rubbed, pinched, and slapped. For a woman, the streets are a war zone. Every day is a battle to stay safe, whether it's through isolation, denial, or precautions. I deny the inevitability I feel of one day being raped. In crowds, men often take the opportunity to touch women seemingly by accident.
She hates men.
When a man is sexually aggressive towards women, they remain in their primitive, objectified form. I would like to carry a gun, but I'm too afraid. I'm so unprepared. My freedom of choice is being taken from me. How I look, feel, dress, where I walk, how I walk. These are not harmless, isolated incidents. I feel the manifestations of this abuse in my extreme and paranoid reactions to ordinary sounds or sudden gestures that also often occur on the streets or in the protective quiet of my own home. And in a 7.5-hour period in July of 1991 in New York City, 112 men were recorded sexually harassing me. Everything seems so innocent, so harmless.
Attention, Phoenix. deCompression Art Gallery is pleased to announce that Reno is coming to town for 2 shows the evenings of Friday, October the 29th and Saturday, October the 30th at deCompression Art Gallery in downtown Phoenix. Reno will present her new show, How Can I Make Love When Oliver North Was Actually Nominated and Is Running for Senate? Don't miss the distinct performance art edge that Reno brings to her brand of political and social satire. Please continue watching this video for more information.
I've got to stop blaming my parents. But after all, they were there. Order was the rule in my family's house. I mean, everything had a place and everything was always in that place. I could leave a big old bag of heroin, like right there on the TV set, and my mother would be like, where does this go? This does not belong here. Now put it away. Put it away. And of course, there was no place to put a bag of heroin in my parents' house. I mean, they didn't even have a spice cabinet. My parents lived life in the blind spot. It was like, oh, hi, Mrs. Whitehouse, Mr. White. My parents were so white, they were postmodern white. They were like white inside a frame of white, 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 a little white dot. There's my parents right there. Hello, hello, how are you? I mean, when am I going to stop blaming my parents? I'll be like 50 years old. I'll be in the back of the bus making lists, cross-referencing. Oh, yes, and I remember when they got that linoleum, They knew I hated fake bricks. But the timing sucks. I mean, the timing is completely off. I mean, finally, we're starting to understand a little bit about ourselves only as we get into our 30s. Getting stronger and stronger, knowing what you should be doing with your life, or hopefully knowing what you should not be doing. But by now, our parents are getting weaker and weaker. They're prostrate, they're on their back, and they're sweet by now. And we're like, but you never knew what I was doing. Oh, honey, we didn't know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Oh, honey, but we loved you. Well, it wasn't enough. Oh, honey, I want to tell you everything now, but I can't because you're sweet. I can't. And my father would be like sucking his fingers for like half an hour, trying to figure out which was the hot wire. I mean, there would be sparks coming out of the roof of my house, but my father just, I don't know, which one is it, huh? Which one? Real sensitive guy, right? My mother would be like, don't bother your father or he'll get a shock. Yeah, he'll get a shock if he turns around and sees he has a family. Not that I'm bitter. You're the woman? I mean, I don't want you to go out on a limb with this. Why not just month of the woman, or fortnight even? So I have this friend, Ed. We spend a lot of time together, and last week he comes over to my house for dinner, and he had this really bummed out look on his face, very glum, and so I said, "Que pasa, Ed?" And he says, "Gee, Reen, have you noticed, like I've been noticing lately, there's all these women who seem to be just so, like, angry at men." And then he says, I mean, like, you know, all those new women senators and Thelma and Louise and everything. And I'm thinking, Thelma and Louise was a movie. I mean, women rarely have more than one role in the movies, and often that's the cadaver. I mean, have we ever taken note of Silence of the Lambs, The Shining, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Clute, all those Brian De Palma movies? Oh, how about those MTV girl victims, like 24 hours a day? But I didn't want to say any of that because he was being so sweet and sensitive, and when you find a man showing any spriglet, a spitlet of sensitivity in a man, it's like, calling all women, man being sensitive in Cleveland. Come on, girls, remember Pavlov? We want to build it up and encourage it. And what did you like about the flower, honey? Was it the smell or the color? We need to support this sensitivity so that maybe later it might show up like in reality when he's about to... Ah! And he recalls that flower and he drops the stick. Of course, another part of me saw myself like in one of those Daffy Duck cartoons, and I had a big old turkey roaster pot top and a major large wooden spoon, and I'm ambling on over to Ted's head, putting it over his head and going, women angry, huh? No kidding! You know, I really could have hit him. And he was being so sweet. Of course, he has the liberty of taking his sweet time to notice what we have to go through, we Wimskis, like forever. Why should I take it out on Ted? I mean, after all, he's my friend. He's so sweet. I mean, he's my friend. And what about all those other guys? Those guys, I don't know. And it's a good thing I don't know them because I probably would have, who knows? But, there's this construction site dudes. It's not like it's just a cliche. No. That happens. I mean, it's always like, hey, I saw the pubic hair in your Coke can. Keep your robe on, Clarence, okay? Is that okay with you, Clarence? We believe you, Anita. We believe you.
Living on the Lower East Side, which is about an empty syringe throw away from Wall Street, where guys in Armani suits steal more money in a minute than a gang of street people could in their entire lifetimes. And this makes me crazy. This puts me in a rage. I am always screaming about it.
That's an excerpt from comedian Reno's HBO special, In Rage and Rehab. Welcome back to Arizona's Family Saturday. The time is obscured by the thing hanging from the ceiling. It is 8:29. Reno will be performing tonight here in the Valley, and she joins us now. Good morning, Reno.
Good morning.
Now, you brought a friend.
Yes, Lucy. She's my Rasta dog.
Can I hold Lucy while we talk?
Come here, Luce.
Walk.
Come here, darling.
So what kind of a name is Reno?
Oh, that's right. You wanted to hold her. Sorry.
Well,
she doesn't shed.
Oh, good.
She's hypoallergenic. Just like that.
The Almay dog.
That's right, Almay. Almay. Except for, by the way, I broke out with Almay, so don't go buying it.
Magic of television, they'll never know.
That's
so what
right.
is your act about? What is this?
Nothing. I have no act. It's real life.
All right, back to you, Royal. What is it about? And what kind of a name is Reno?
Royal. Hey, Prince, come on over here.
Yeah, my name is Jodi. I have the most normal name at this whole station.
No, you're like Tammy. You have all these Tammys.
Don't lump me in with Tammy.
Oh,
I'm a Jodi.
That's not nice. No,
yeah.
You're a junkie?
Jodi.
Oh, Jodi. She's a junkie, and she's coming out right here on TV. And
this is Arizona's Family. Don't listen to it.
I know. AZ.
So tell us about your act.
I have no act. How can I make love when Oliver North has actually been... He's running for Senate. Oliver North. How can I even take care of myself?
He's running for Senate in Virginia.
And it's real. And he was actually nominated. Can you imagine? It's like, let's put the fox right in the hen house. Okay, good idea.
Reno, I think you should break out of your shell.
I have no shell. I'm a snail looking for, what are they called? Hermit crabs.
Escargot.
Shell in every storm.
So do you think that I used to live in New York. So
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you from there?
I'm not from there.
It's not our fault. We were born where we were born. I could have been born in Saigon.
Born in Pittsburgh.
That's
anyway,
Pittsburgh. You're kidding.
Do you think the New York shtick will go over here in the Valley of the Sun?
Last night we had the most amazing show, all except for the
audience.
No, the audience was brilliant. Very good. Good.
But you
Bing with that. No, all of a sudden
we need a band on this show. I tell you, we need a band.
You're right. All except for the horrendous air traffic over my head the entire night.
You were on the runway at the airport, I take it?
We were tarmacking, yes, we were. It was unbelievable, though. Every 15 seconds, I just got rolling again, and there comes another. And you only have 3 loading docks at your airport, so I couldn't understand that, because we were there for 2 hours, and we must have had, I don't know, 500 planes. It was like LaGuardia all of a sudden.
You must spend a lot of time in airports because you're about to become a very big star.
Oh, right on the verge.
You are
on
the verge.
Cusp of big stardom, all except for my politics won't quite allow me to come on over.
Oh, it's not out of fashion to be a communist, or what are you?
Yes, a communist. Yeah, me and Angela Davis. We're really bummed out. There's nothing left for us, Angela Davis.
So is this what your act is like? You basically vent to the audience?
No.
What do you do? I mean, it's funny.
I take care of them.
You take care of the audience.
I am tense. I'm a little tense, okay? In fact, I'm beyond tense. I'm past tense. And everything really keeps on upsetting me. But it's okay because, people my generation have kids my age.
I'll try to do the math on that and get back with you.
Thanks very much.
You can watch Reno tonight at the deCompression Gallery in Phoenix. Showtime's at 8 o'clock. The gallery is located at 215 South 13th Street. And we thank you very much for joining us,
Thank
Reno.
you, Jody, and thank you,
Nice to meet you,
Lucy.
Reno, and nice to meet you, Lucy.
Good night, Royal.
Bye, Royal.
Take care of the Queen.
Hey, Reno, before you leave, will you do that thing one more time when you're coming over the cusp? Gotta love that. All right. Next up, we're going to have a check of news, including the latest on those California fires. And imagine going fishing, and instead of reeling in a bass, well, you pull in a body. We'll tell you about a Florida man who did just that. He found a...
Hey, dude, dude,
What do you think this is, a city? It's not a goddamn city, it's a rural area. It's a rural area. Yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Did you get my Huggies? Did you get the Huggies? Excuse me? Did you get the fucking Huggies? What the fuck are you doing? All right, get in your car.